So we are going to do some nice things for the lower half of our legs and in and around the hips. That's kind of been my focus a little bit. Anyway, so we will do some things to help counter the sitting and stretch our muscles from a lot of our sitting. So I do have some props set up. If you have these props, that's wonderful. If you don't have some of the props, you can still make do and modify. So I'm going to move towards my mat. I am going to mute our your all microphones so we don't have interference that way. You can leave your videos on. And then if you ever have a question or something comes up, you can either chat me in the chat box below or just unmute yourself and ask during class, no problem, okay? So let me move to my mat and we'll go ahead and start talking about what we're doing tonight. I'm also feeling a lot of tightness and soreness, but that's natural for me anyway. So some props that you might want to gather up. I just grabbed a pillow from the bed to use towards the end of the class for Shavasana. I took a washcloth and folded it up as a little eye covering, again, for the end of class to help the body relax. A folded towel, bath towel, and or a blanket are wonderful props to have with you this evening that we can use throughout our practice. I have this meditation cushion that I use to sit up on in our seated postures. It sits about 3 inches tall to prop ourselves up on. You're always welcome to sit in a chair towards the edge of a chair, your sofa, if you want to take those hips and knees out of the equation, so that's always an option. And if you have yoga blocks, go ahead and have your yoga blocks handy. And since a lot of us are talking about those hips, let's see, we'll leave that to the side. So my focus for my classes that I teach, we have been focusing on what's called Muladhara Chakra. And this is our root base, our root wheel or energy center. It correlates to the tailbone, the lower back, the pelvic floor, all the way down the legs and into the feet. And when we focus on this area, the poses that we practice do help bring a little bit more flexibility to those areas of our body, helps open them up to help release tightness and fatigue we might be feeling in those areas. And then these postures, mudras, and breath work also help make us feel a little bit more grounded. They help improve our sense of stability and security. So those will be some of the things that we're focusing on in this evening's practice. So happy to be here with all of you. Thank you all for your continued support, your patience. If you are new to me and you haven't taken my class before, it might be a little different than some of the other classes you've taken. So please modify, adjust. It's your body, your practice. I want us all to bring in a quality of ahimsa, which means nonviolence, to ourselves and our bodies, and a quality of santosha, which means contentment. So really being content wherever we are this evening on our mats. I am going to have us start in a seated position. So I would like you to sit up on something to allow our spinal column to remain in a nice neutral position with some of the natural curves. So I'm going to take myself and sit up on my meditation cushion here. We can come into Sukhasana, which is our easy cross pose, just crossing at the shins. If you want to start to focus a little bit more on this pelvic floor root area, we can come into Siddhasana, which means that you draw one heel in front of the pelvic floor, and then the other heel rests directly in front of it. Sitting in Siddhasana or Adept's pose is another way to maybe create a little bit more freedom through those hip creases. Of course, you'll take any comfortable seat that works for your body tonight. So the mudra that we've been practicing this week at the start of this Muladhara Chakra focus is our clenching thumb mudra. And this mudra does help, again, bring a sense of security and safety into our mind and our body. And all you do is turn the thumbs to the palms and then wrap your forefingers around the thumbs. Now this is something that we tend to do naturally in our daily lives when we might be in a situation that we start to feel a little uncomfortable or unsure, a little anxiousness. We have a natural tendency to clench our thumbs. to provide some calming and stability. So if this mudra feels good for you tonight, you can start there, either resting the pinky edge of the fist down on the knees with the palms turned up or down. If for whatever reason that doesn't feel comfortable, just relax your hands to your knees or take chin mudra, index finger to thumb, or seal of wisdom or knowledge. So once we've situated ourselves, you do want to find those sit bones. Sit up nice and tall. We want to float the head right on top of the shoulders and the shoulders over the hips. And then we'll start to soften our gaze, closing the eyes and redirecting our attention inward. When we close the eyes, we're able to reconnect to our body, our breath, our brain, so that we can move safely and mindfully throughout our practice this evening. We'll start with the physical body and take a mental scan of the body. Notice your posture, sitting up as tall as possible, crown of the head lengthening upwards towards the ceiling. Relax all the little muscles across the face, the brow, around the eyes. Poof the cheeks with air, wiggle out the mouth, swallow a couple times to help release the jaw. Notice the gentle weight of the shoulders, the elbows, and the hands resting on the knees. Feel an opening across the front of the chest and the heart. And again, this lengthening up through the front of the spine and the back of the spine. So as the upper half of the body lifts and lengthens, we really want to feel this grounding sensation this evening from the hips down. So let the weight of the legs really sink down and towards the ground. Start to soften and release tension and tightness around the hips, through the knees. Relaxing all the way down into the ankles and the feet. Notice where the feet and legs are touching each other and all the contact points that the lower half of the body is making with the ground and the support below you. As we're scanning our bodies this evening, if we do come across any areas that we might be healing or taking care of, let's pause on those areas for a moment. Send a healing breath into them. And on our exhale, we allow those areas to relax as well. Remembering that we're all here for different reasons. Every day is a new day. And we each have permission to modify and adjust our practice accordingly. So as we maintain this posture, we'll now spread awareness to the rhythm of the natural breath. Simply observe the body breathe. Breathing as smoothly and evenly as we can, in and out through the nose. Noticing the subtle movements of the body on the inhale and exhale. Noticing any sounds that the breath might be making in the body. Remembering that we're making these observations without judgment, without labeling any of it good or bad. We're simply acting as a witness, looking from the outside in. So we're going to continue this evening with a little bit more focused pranayama and work with a little pranayama that does start to bring our awareness into the pelvic floor with engagement of Mula Bandha or root lock and Uddiyana Bandha, lower abdominal lock. These will be very subtle engagements of these lower locks. If it ever causes any discomfort, just discontinue. When we start to wake up these muscles on a physical level, it does help strengthen and tone the pelvic floor to help counter the effects of gravity in that area of the body, improving our urinary health and our reproductive system health. And those lower abdominal muscles, when we learn to engage and lift those, they also support the low back. So if we have any issues with our low back, learning to help use these locks can be beneficial. On a more energetic level, when we engage these locks, it helps carry the energy up through the spine towards our higher self and consciousness and the crown of the head. So I want you to follow the rhythm of your breath. On our inhale, our body naturally expands. So on this next inhale, I want you to relax the abdomen completely, allow it to expand as you fill yourself up with fresh air, prana, and energy. On the exhale, the body naturally contracts. So I want you to gently start to draw the navel towards the spine as you exhale. Now we'll start to add a little bit of bandha work. So as you inhale, relax the abdomen, the pelvic floor muscles, the belly will expand. You'll fill yourself up. On the exhale, gently draw navel to spine, pull the low belly in, and now try to squeeze the muscles of the pelvic floor and lifting them in and up into the body. On the exhale, you'll relax. You'll drop the pelvic floor muscles. You'll relax the abdominal muscles. On the exhale, gently contract the abdominal muscles, especially in that lower belly, pulling them in and up. Try to squeeze the perineum, lifting it in and up, almost like you're trying to stop the flow of urine is sometimes the sensation. On the inhale, we relax. Soften the pelvic floor and the abdomen to breathe in. Let's try to cycle through 2 more rounds. The exhale, toning, squeezing, lifting, engaging those muscles in and up. Inhaling, an opportunity to relax and expand to fill ourselves up. 1 more round. That next exhale, when you get there, really try to empty every last drop out, clean everything out, letting go of stale old air and energy. And then inhale again, just relax the belly. And now relax the breath, letting go of trying to control the breath or any of the bandha work. Start to notice the physical body and our posture again. And then we'll start to bring our awareness back to our surroundings, gently fluttering the eyelids open and gently bringing our awareness back to our surroundings, opening the eyes. So we'll take a quick break here. You can relax your hands from the mudra by just spreading your fingers nice and wide. Give them a little wiggle. Those of us sitting cross-legged, take a mental note of which foot is front, because we will come back to a seat and I'll ask that you try to change which foot is in front. We'll float the knees up for a moment and give our legs a break just by stretching the legs straight out in front of us. Now we can keep the knees bent up. Do continue to use a little bit of your abdominal muscles to sit up nice and tall. Just start to wiggle your feet, let the blood run back down through those feet. Taking flat palms or making a fist again, we're gonna give our legs a little slapping massage here. So you can either slap in or punch into those muscles and go all the way up and down your legs. So doing this work stimulates blood flow down through the legs. This is a really nice exercise to do if you do have poor circulation into your legs, or you find that you do lots of sitting. Take a break, start smacking your legs, get the blood come to the surface. So we are going to come back to a seated position. If you were sitting cross-legged, try to place the opposite foot in front this time. Find your sit bones. So literally move the flesh out of the way as needed so that you can sit up tall. Do draw in through that low belly so that the spine is long and extended. Minding our space, we'll extend the arms out beside us, turn the palms up, and take another nice deep breath in through the nose just to float those arms up towards the ceiling. Turn the palms out and exhale, float the fingertips back towards the ground. Upavishta Trikonasana, seated triangle pose. This inhale floats the right arm up beside the ear. Keep your sit bones rooted. As you exhale, you'll lean to your left. So you're pulling your waist up out of that lower hip. The inhale is going to pull us up out of the pose. You'll switch arms, and on the exhale, you'll lean to your right. Now push that left sit bone down. Create space through the hip and the waist. Inhale pulls us up. One more time to each side. We can turn our drishti down, forward, or upwards to change the stretch for the neck. Use your inhale to reach up. And one more time over to our right. Nice big stretch. Feel that length, lateral extension. Inhale, we'll meet with both arms reaching up towards the ceiling. Bring the palms to touch and exhale to the center. Interweave all 10 fingers, nice strong grip. Then flip your palms forward and press your palms forward. Now I'm purposely rounding my belly in and I am rounding the back. Drop the chin to the chest, splay the shoulder blades. Inhale, tips the pelvis forward, floats those arm bones beside the ears into extension, opening the chest and the shoulders. Nice big exhale, scoop, tuck, and round. Wonderful pose to help release tension all the way down the back. We'll meet on the inhale, floating those arms up back towards the ceiling. Now open the hands up, we'll go into a twist. So you're rotating over the axis of the spine. Breathe it in. On the exhale, rotate to your right. Front hand can reach to opposite knee, back fingertips towards the floor. Let the shoulders, neck, head, and the eyeballs look behind you. Inhale, pull everything back up to center. Keep this length. Exhale, you're rotating around the axis of the spine. The arms can drop down, twisting to the left, shoulders, neck, head, and those eyes. Inhale, reach up. One more time to each side. Nice big exhale. Bring it all out. Keep your shoulders and your chin parallel to the floor. Peek to the furthest point behind you. Inhale, reach it up. And one more time. Nice big twist. Again, to help undo tension throughout the body. Bring it out. And then inhale, we'll meet back into center, reaching up. Bring the palms together. Exhale to heart. From here, reach down for those knees. We'll give our legs another stretch. So we'll extend them back out in front of you. So since we're focusing on the legs and feet tonight, we've been doing this little bit of articulation for the feet. This is a really nice way to strengthen the feet and again, improve the soles of the feet, help with countering fallen arches and plantar fasciitis, all that good stuff. So sit up tall. I want you to flex your feet and line up all your toes, including the pinky toes. So you're actively contracting that lateral edge of the foot up through that lateral edge of the shins and to the hips. Now on the exhale, you're gonna curl your toes up and then point the feet forward. So we're trying to articulate through the joints of the feet. On the inhale, spread your toes first, then pull the toes back to the shin bones, pressing your heels forward. Exhale, try to curl up your toes first. Grip those toes and then point the feet forward. Inhale, spread the toes first and then pull them back to the shins. If your feet cramp, just back off. One more time. Exhale, curl, then point, point, point. Stretch out the tops of the feet as much as you can. And then inhale, spread toes, pulling toes to shins. And then exhale, relax. So we're gonna make a big transition here into tabletop pose on our mats. So if you need to move yourself around in your space, go ahead and do so. Add extra cushion underneath the knees and the shin bones as needed. So when you come into tabletop, your fingers are spread nice and wide. We are stacking our joints. So the wrists will be stacked as broad as the shoulders, knees under hips. A little bit of space between your knees and feet so they're hips width apart. And I want you actively pressing into the earth. Don't just sag and lock out your joints. I really want you to feel connected to the ground and building up the stability and strength from the ground up. Notice where your head is in space. The head gets heavy and it wants to hang. Do round that low belly in a little bit so that the spine stays in neutral. Now keep your hips and low back parallel to the floor. Stretch your right foot back behind you, straightening the leg. The ball of the foot is to the floor, and then you will transition and push your weight back through that heel as much as you want to intensify that stretch up the back of the leg. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, right knee comes back down, tabletop. Same thing, keep your hips and low back level. Stretch your left foot back behind you, foot to the floor. And then you're shifting your weight back through that heel to stretch up the Achilles, the calf, Great pose to do to counter sitting and having our knees in flexion all the time. Breathe it in. Exhale, knee down, tabletop. Re-extend the right leg behind you, more strengthening this time. So use your core, squeeze the right buttock and low back to hover the right leg parallel to the floor. The toes are pointing straight down to the ground. We're going to add some balancing work here to improve our stability and strength. So reach your left arm forward, palm in, thumb up. And you can always modify and keep the hands down, no big deal. So right leg, left arm, extending away from the body. Feel the strength that you're building internally. Breath is flowing evenly in and out through the nose. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, bring the hand and the knee back down to tabletop. Other side, left leg stretches back. Squeeze the left buttock, the lower back to hover the left leg parallel to the floor. The foot is actively flexed, toes pointing to the ground. Right arm reaches forward, palm in, thumb up. Spinal integration, also healthy for our brain here to balance opposite sides of the body. Take one more deep breath in. Exhale, bring the hand and the knee back down. So we'll move through a few rounds of Majariasana or cat-cow. If your wrists need to take a break or you just want to strengthen your hands differently, come into Hasta Bandha by rounding the knuckles of the fingertips and driving your fingertips into the ground. Or make a strong punching fist in the hand and press your knuckles into the ground. That will help decompress your wrists and strengthen your arms a little differently. On our inhale, relax the belly. Really feel that tailbone lifting up towards the ceiling as you stretch the crown of the head forward and up into our gentle back bend. As you exhale, start with the tailbone tonight. Scoop it under, pull and round the low belly in, round the back up to the ceiling and tuck the chin, drishti to the belly button. Inhale, try to start with the tail since that's what we're focusing on. Anterior tilt in the pelvis, gentle back bending extension. The exhale scoops the tail under, rounds the back up. Look to the belly button, stretch out the back. And then let's flow through one more of each. This is also a nice way to loosen up the area around the hips. And then we'll come back to neutral position and visit our first child's pose. So if we want to get a little bit more into our hips, we want to take wide knee child's pose. Opening our knees as wide as our yoga mat and touching the big toes behind us. On the exhale, we'll sink our hips to those heels as far as we can go. Adding a shoulder stretch here, keep the fingers wide. Open the hands a little wider than the shoulders, extending through the index fingers. And then melt the belly, the heart, and the head to the ground. And again, we want to feel the whole weight of the body sinking down, and we do want the head to be grounded. So if your head is not easily touching the ground on the forehead, no problem. Slide your hands or your forearms underneath your forehead or a prop, or simply keep your hips higher up in the air and relax down on your forearms and the head that way. And for some of you, that will feel better for your knees anyway. And then just breathe and sink into the pose. So wide knee child's pose does stretch out the whole area around the hips, the lumbar spine. Use your exhale to allow those muscles to let go of any tension or tightness that you might be holding on to in them. One more breath here. And then the next inhale, we'll float the head and the body back up into our tabletop position. Still need to readjust the knees and the feet so that they're stacked. From here, tuck the toes under. So this is a big pose. We've been working on this for the last couple of classes, at least in my class anyway. It's called Padangusthasana. I'll give you some modifications. So your toes are tucked under. We move through broken toe pose. So you're actually trying to sit back on your heels with the toes tucked under. Really powerful. I know for a lot of people, you want to jump out of this pose immediately. So probably means we need to do it a little bit more often. Stretches out all the fascia of the feet. Healthy feet, Healthy legs, healthy back, right? That's our foundation, is our feet. Modification, you can come into kneeling and you can just try it as long as possible. Now those of us that want to take it up a notch, we'll go into Padangusthasana or toe stand. If you have yoga blocks, place your yoga blocks beside you to help with some of the stability, or your fingertips, and we're trying to pick our knees off the ground. Now once you come into toe stand, there's a little space between your feet, but your knees should be touching. And you can try it and then you can come back out. Those of you in toe stand, I'll give you some variations. So this turns into a balancing pose eventually. The palms rest on top of the thighs. If you're there, try bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. If you're there, try extending the arms forward, arms parallel to the floor. Wherever we are, one more breath. Breathe it in. And on the exhale, we'll release the pose tonight. So drop your hands and knees back down to the ground. We'll walk forward on our mat. Spread the fingers, hands are shoulder width apart. Toes are still tucked under, but this time we're gonna lift our knees and our hips up, back, and down into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And we'll take several moments here in our downward facing dog to give our whole back side of our body a nice big stretch. On the inhale, float those heels up again. So you're stretching out the creases of the toes. Those toes should be nice and parallel to each other. On the exhale, drop one heel to the ground as you bend the opposite knee. So sink that heel as far down as you can. The inhale floats the heel up. And then exhale, switch sides, pedaling that other heel to the ground. So remember, come back down to tabletop or child's pose, or if you practice your downward facing dog on a wall or with your hands on the seat of a chair, continue to do what you normally do unless you want to try something a little different tonight. This is an inversion, so we do need to be mindful of any blood pressure or heart conditions. We are actively pressing into the mounds of the index finger and thumb, so internally rotating the hands, but externally rotating the upper arm bones. So try to roll those upper arm bones away from the ears, keeping the neck long and the head floating. One more breath. Try to sink those heels down. Find some stillness in the pose. Simply bend your knees deeply if that feels better for the low back. Now this next inhale, we're going to float our body back forward into a plank position. So I do like to do at least one plank in my classes. Kneeling plank is totally acceptable. You'll need to adjust your stance so that your shoulders are still over your wrists. Scoop that tailbone, strongly pull the low belly in. If you're hovering with the knees up, compact those hips. Feel that strength that you're getting from the ground up. Float the head in line with the spine. If it's too much on your wrists, you just come down to your forearms. And we'll all try to hold for 2 more breaths tonight. Smile and breathe. Building up that strength from the inside. Just one more breath. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Next inhale, we'll float those hips up one more time. And exhale, weight down the backs of the legs into those heels into downward facing dog. Take a breath. So tonight, bend the knees. And try to walk your hands back towards your feet, transitioning into Uttanasana, forward fold. So I'm starting out with a nice big bend in my knees, especially for low back people. If you are taking care of your low back tonight, the modification is to rest your elbows on top of your thighs or even your hands. You don't have to continue to be upside down. We've been upside down for a while, so I needed to be mindful of how that feels for your body. Those of you in full Uttanasana, you are trying to straighten the legs. You can release the head, the neck, and the shoulders, or take a hold of opposite elbows to ragdoll. Now your feet should be strong, your legs should be strong. Think about Mula Bandha root lock when your pelvic muscles pulling in and up, and especially those lower abdominal muscles engaging to support your back. The next inhale brings us to halfway lift. So your hands will come under your shins or higher if you're in the modification. You'll lift your chest and exaggerate the squeeze between your shoulder blades. So I really want you to try to flatten out the back. Pick up your toes. Feel the strength in your legs and in your core. Those of you that want to take it a little further, you locust your arms beside the upper body. Palms are facing each other and you're squeezing an invisible ball back there. And you'll feel that even in the triceps. And coming up halfway does help regulate our blood pressure. So we should still be breathing. Give me one more deep breath in through the nose. Next exhale, we're going to sit back to Utkatasana and allow our arms to flow forward and up. If you get lightheaded or dizzy, sit flat to the floor. So Utkatasana, fierce pose. Feet parallel to each other. Knees tracking straight towards those toes. Low belly's in. You're rooting that tailbone towards the ground. Now shrug the shoulders from the ears or bring your hands in front of your heart, especially if you hold tension in your neck and shoulders. So we're going to go into a little bit of balance work. I want you in a safe space. You're always welcome to use a wall or a chair for support. So I like to do lots of balancing in my classes as well. So from here, inhale, try to pick up your right foot from the floor, even if it's just half an inch, and just hover. Exhale, bring the right foot down. Inhale, left foot lifts, hover. Play with your balance and stability. Good. Exhale, bring the left foot down. Maybe try to sink a little lower down into Utkatasana. This next inhale, we're going to straighten and reach everything up into extended mountain. So really lift, lift, lift. Try to lift your heels up and rise up on your tippy toes. So we're trying to touch the ceiling. Turn your palms out and exhale. Float the arms down and the heels down into Tadasana. Just holding Tadasana for a moment here. Try to pick up your toes again and feel yourself rooting into the mound of the big toe, inner heel, mound of the pinky toe, outer heel. Unlock those knees. Fire up the quads, the tops of the thighs. Lift in and up through the pelvic floor. Pull front body to back body. You can gauge Uddiyana Bandha. Lengthen the upper buttock down. Nice open chest and heart. And no tension whatsoever in the face, the neck, or the throat. Take a nice deep breath in. A nice deep breath out. A little bit more balance, our palm tree pose. Turn your palms out. Inhale, reach those arms out. Float the heels up again onto those tippy toes. This time, bring your palms to touch. And as you exhale, lower the heels and the hands to heart. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, draw a nice big circle. Lift your heels up, reach to the ceiling. Exhale, lower down. 1 more time, see how tall we can get. Strengthen the lower half of those legs, really use those feet, good. Exhale, lower it down. So we'll do a little bit of lunge work here, opening up the front of the hips to counter some of that sitting. Again, to build up strength through the legs and do some variations of Virabhadrasana 1. So we might need to adjust ourselves on our mat again. Standing towards the top of our mat now in Tadasana. Feet are parallel to each other, hips width apart. Nice strong legs, compact those hips, extend the fingertips away from the ears, float the head. Turn those palms out and inhale, reach the arms up, big stretch. Exhale, float those hands onto the hips. You're taking a hold of your hip bones here. Exactly. We're taking a big step back with our right foot in line with that hip so that you're in a lunge. Now we'll try to start in a high lunge, meaning that we're on the ball of that back foot. Use your chair, use your prop as needed. Left knee is lunging right over top of that left ankle. And continue to pull in through your core. When we have a hold of these hips, all I want you to try to do is tuck your hips under a little bit. Give it a little under. And then that should intensify the stretch in the front of the right hip and hip flexor. So choose to stay here if you want more balancing work. If it helps you feel more grounded at this point, turn your back heel slightly in and down to the ground. So you're more in a warrior 1 stance. We are still trying to drive our right hip forward, pulling in through the front body. So I'm not hyperextending. I don't want you overarching your low back. We just need to be mindful of our back knee so that it's not twisting or twerking. So if we're here, we feel balanced and grounded, whether you're in high lunge or warrior one in the legs. Next inhale, try to float those arms out and overhead, shrugging shoulders from ears, or bringing the palms to touch, crossing at the thumbs, and trying to extend those upper arm bones back slightly. But continue to feel the stretch at the front of the right hip. Eyes can gently look upwards. Take a nice deep breath in. This exhale, we're going to try to step forward, simultaneously release your arms back down, and find ourselves back in mountain pose, where we'll pause, observe, and breathe. Turn those palms out. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, bring the hands onto the hips. Left foot, nice big step back, straight in line with the hips. So you do have a little space between your feet. You don't have to be on a tightrope here. So hips are squaring forward. I'm on the ball of the back foot. My right knee is lunging right over my right ankle. And then I want to take my hips and try to scoop them under more. So scooping that tailbone under a little bit more, pulling the low belly in a little bit more. And that should intensify the stretch through the front of our right hip flexor quad. Choose to keep back heel up in high lunge for balance, or to get a little different of a stretch and more stability, angle the left heel down and in slightly, 10 to 15 degrees. We are still trying to draw the left hip forward and root the tailbone under. Pull that low belly in. That'll stretch a little bit more through your Achilles and calf muscle again. And then on the inhale, we can reach those arms overhead, nice and wide, or try to bring your palms to touch, crossing at the thumbs, and pulling the head of those upper arm bones back as we continue to lunge, gazing slightly upwards in a variation of Virabhadrasana 1. One more breath. Take a nice deep breath in. This exhale, it's a big movement, I know. So do what you can. Try to float those arms down, simultaneously step the left foot forward and down. And coming right back into Tadasana, where we'll pause, observe, and breathe. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, relax for a moment. So I want us to do a couple other maybe little weird things tonight to improve balance, stability, not only physically, but mentally as well. So this is called toe walking, and it's exactly what it says it is. We're gonna try to walk on our toes. So you can be in any space, or if you want, come towards the back of your mat at this point. And we start in Tadasana. Some people like to rest their hands on their hips to help with the stability. And on the inhale, we lift our heels up. And then you just step yourself forward to the front of your mat. So it might seem easy, might not. We're still trying to lift those heels up. And then you're gonna try to walk backwards, but I want you to do this safely. So this one definitely not as easy. Might feel a little awkward. When you get towards the back of your mat, drop your heels down. This one I find is more challenging. Try to pick your toes up and even the balls of the feet up, and try to walk on just your heels. And you're walking forward as much as you can. So all these really help tone and strengthen the feet and our balance. We're still on our heels. Try to take it backwards. Good. We'll end up towards the back of our mat. Oh, I'm losing it. And then ground your feet back to the ground. Relax your arms down to Tadasana. So those are great to do anytime during the day. I'm always lifting and lowering my heels, standing in the kitchen, standing in line to help tone and strengthen. So this next balancing pose is called tightrope pose. And we'll actually start with the moving version, and then we're going to try to hold it. So same thing, come to the back of your mat. Arms may extend out just like you were balancing on a tightrope, or hands to hips. So it's harder to keep your feet closer together. So what you'll try to do is take one foot in front of the other, heel toe, kind of like a, what do they call those things? I've never had to do one, but a sobriety test and you touch your finger to your nose. There's a reason, I guess, they make people do those things. So you'll walk to the front of your mat. And then we'll try to go backwards. Just be safe. So toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel. And we're trying to stay on our tightrope. If you can't stay on that straight line, that's fine. You can have a little space between your feet. Ooh. Now look, when you get to the back of your mat, I want you to keep one foot in front of the other. I don't care which foot it is because we'll eventually switch. So you might have your arms out again or to your hips. Just compact your hips, squeeze your inner thighs. Float the head on the shoulders. If your arms are floating out here to help you, that's fine. An additional challenge would try to bring your arms back overhead, either palms touching and thumbs crossed. Even hands in front of the heart, that feels better for your neck and shoulders. Now here comes the big try. Be safe. Try to blink your eyes. And then eventually practice our blind balancing with the eyes closed. And if you've never practiced blind balancing before, it changes everything. But it is so beneficial for our brain and our body. Notice the breath. Next, inhale, open the eyes if they're closed. And we'll step the other foot in front. So wherever you are in space, opposite foot in front, stand on your tightrope. Now compact the hips, squeeze your inner thighs. We could still be using those lower bandhas. So if you've dropped your pelvic floor, pull it up. Pull the low belly in and up. But you're still breathing. You're breathing thoracically around the rib cage here. And the face should be nice and relaxed, even though we're concentrating. Squeeze. Blink the eyes. Try a little bit of blind balancing here. Next inhale, open the eyes. And on the exhale, uncross the legs, open them up into Tadasana. Float your arms down beside you and just pause. Observe. And then let it go. All right, so let's work our way back to the front. Actually, let's stay to the back of our mat. So I have been doing this. This is going to be an additional challenge. You don't have to do this pose. If you take care of your knees, you might not want to do this pose. So if you're not going to lower down through Padangusthasana, you will simply stand in your Tadasana, bend your knees. You can hinge from your hips, and you can take a forward fold and loosen things up there. Those of us that want to try to lower down through Padangusthasana, you'll bring your feet a little closer together, so just a couple inches apart, and then you knock knee and you squeeze your knees together. That helps brace your knees, so it gives them a little bit of stability, talking about all that jazz. We can be towards the back of our mat, so I'm squeezing my knees, strong core. I'm going to try to float my heels up. Arms reach straight forward, parallel to the floor. And if you just want to hold this for a few breaths and then forward fold, you can. Please be kind to your body. And then on the exhale, Padangusthasana, toe stand, you try to slowly lower down. We're trying to lean against an invisible wall, even though that's even more challenging. Finding our balance again if we made it this far. Breathe it in. On the exhale, we'll float our fingertips down. We'll try to re-extend the legs, and we'll all catch up back in Uttanasana. Prance your legs one leg at a time. Let it go. And then on this inhale, look forward, walking our hands back forward into one more plank tonight, and then we'll get into some deeper hip stuff here. So choose your flavor. Lots of flavors of plank. Make it work for you. Be mindful of where your head is in space. It wants to hang. Keep your drishti slightly forward. Hug those muscles to the bone. Take one more breath in. One more breath out. Inhale, float your hips up. Exhale, shift your weight back and down those legs. Adho Mukha Svanasana. downward facing dog, or tabletop or child's pose. Down dog, people, just receive that stretch all the way up and down the back of the body. One more breath. To inhale, float your heels up as high as you can. Next exhale, we'll drop all the way back down to the ground to child's pose. So if you want to try traditional child's pose, keep the knees together. Sink the hips to the heels as you slide your hands to your feet, bowing the head down to the ground here, and allowing the weight of the arms to sink to the ground. If your hands are back by your feet, you can take a hold of them. Take a moment to knead and massage your feet, the inner arches, the lateral arches, up the middle of the foot, around the heel. It can feel quite nice. The thumb can massage into the top of the foot. And then hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin. On our inhale, we'll try to round up into Vajrasana. So we've also been exploring this pose a little bit in my class, and I know this isn't for everybody. So if you are challenged to sit back on your heels, your first option is to take a couple props behind your sit bones between the heels, and you can be in supported Vajrasana. If that still doesn't work, feel free to bring your feet in front of you and come into Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet touching. And you may practice this pose for the hips while we play a little bit with floating Vajrasana pose. If we're sitting back on those heels, the next challenge, so the knees are touching again here. Hands can come down beside the hips. You try to float your knees and shin bones from the ground. So it's a really big stretch for the shins, the tops of the ankles, and the feet. Now I'm rounding the belly in a little bit here to help with my balance, but I want to do that mindfully. Next stage is to bring the hands into prayer position in front of the heart, lifting the chest up into the heart. So Baddha Konasana, people, you can hinge slightly forward if you have the space. We'll try to all hold for one more breath. If we're in our floating Vajrasana, lower it back down. Place your hands forward. Tap out the tops of the feet. Single leg stretch to open up the eyes of the knees. Or one more time just for a breath. Float it up, back and down to downward dog to get the legs to stretch out. And then we'll all drop back down to the ground and shift our hips over to one side, and we will all meet with our feet out in front of us. So we'll do a little hip opening in a seated position, and then we'll get into another hip opening lying on our back to meet. So from a seated position, we'll start in Dandasana, and I would normally have us sit up on something, but for this pose, it might be better to be closer to the floor, but you can add a folded blanket to give yourself a little bit of a lift. So you do want to still find your sit bones. The knees might be bent. Elevate if it's challenging to sit up straight and tall. Extend the legs out in Dandasana. So what we're actually going to do is lean back on our hands. The fingers can be pointing forward or backwards. It doesn't really matter, whatever is best for your wrist. And you're going to bend up your right knee, and this right foot needs to be actively flexing. You're going to externulate at the right hip so that that right knee falls open slightly. And then we're crossing the right ankle above the left knee onto the left thigh. So we're in a seated pigeon pose, okay? Now, if this ever causes any discomfort around the knee joint, you need to slowly come out. And your right foot needs to be actively flexed as well as the left. But we'll explore a couple of different variations of this pose. It might turn into a cradle to baby pose. We'll see where we end up. So the next step would be to slide your left foot in towards you, planting it to the floor. Right foot is still actively flexed, so nice strong right foot. Now the more you can press into your hands and lift your chest towards the shin bone, the more that will intensify the stretch. So what we're doing is we're stretching this outer right hip, those deep rotators, the piriformis. Don't force anything. So some of us may be able to come into cradle the baby. For me, I don't get as much stretch out of it, but if you want to try it, you are welcome to. You take the left arm so that the foot comes into the crease of the left elbow. The right arm wraps around the right knee, interweaving the 10 fingers, re-extending the left leg, and then you cradle your baby, which happens to be your right leg at this point. I actually get more out of my pose lifting my chest towards my shin bone in the seated version. So explore that a little bit with your body. You've been doing a little rock here with the legs. You can get into different parts of that hip. Wherever we are, one more breath. So if you're cradling the baby, and if your ankle's on your thigh, we'll still all reach the left leg out. But then you'll want to hug your right knee in so that the knee's back in alignment with the hip, and extend and straighten your right leg out. And we want to meet back in Dandasana or staff pose so that we come into neutral position before we explore the other side. So lift up through that low back, the chest, the heart. From here, step your left foot in. Externally rotate at the thigh, allowing the knee to open. Keep the left foot actively flexed, crossing the left ankle above your right knee. And this might be where we are tonight. You might be getting enough of a stretch right here. And if that's better for the low back, you'll want to stay there. If we want to try to take it a step further, you can lean back. So I lean back first to create some space to step my right foot in. Keep your left foot active to protect the knee. And then from here, I'm going to use my arms to gently try to lift my chest up a little closer to the shin bone. Can do a little rock in the legs. Those of you that want to play a little bit with cradle the baby, you bring right arm around so the foot's in the right elbow crease. Left arm hugs the knee, re-extend the right leg, and hug the leg in, body up. One more breath, whatever version we're exploring this evening. Take a big breath in. The exhale, straighten out that right leg. If you have the leg, you can continue to hold on to it. You'll want to hug the left knee back up into the body, pointing the foot forward, and then stretch the left leg out to meet the right leg. Sit up tall in Dandasana, hands beside the hips, lift the chest, float the head, neutralize the legs. And then exhale, relax. All right, so it's time to come onto our backs. Have space behind you. Safest way that we can come onto our back is to roll to one hand, using our hands to lower us down to the ground, and then rolling onto our back. Once we come onto our back, I want you to loosen things up, organize yourself, align the head in line with the spine. If we have ponytails, you need to move those out of the way. So we'll do a couple more movements here to open up and loosen up those hips. Draw the low belly in, hug those knees in. From here, open your knees nice and wide. Try to reach the hands in between the legs for Supta Baddha Konasana. So I'm trying to bring the soles of the feet to touch, shoulders are on the ground, back of the skull is grounded. Take support behind the head if needed. And then I'm drawing my heels towards the pubic bone as much as it feels comfortable. And I'm using my elbows to press those thigh bones away from me. We're going to move into a variation of Supta Konasana. So you can either simply continue to hold on to the feet. Some of us might have to move our hands to the outer thighs, or we'll take Yogi Toe Grip. To take Yogi Toe Grip, you make the peace sign in both hands. You glue the middle finger to the index finger. The palms are facing each other. Those two fingers slide between the big toe and the second toe. The ring and the pinky finger rest on the top knuckle of the big toe, and your thumb rests on the very tippy top of the big toe. And anytime you're engaged yogi toe lock, your toe resists back. So don't pull your toe out of the socket. So from Supta Baddha Konasana, on the inhale, try to extend your right leg out, opening up the eye of the knee, pressing the heel out. If you want a little bit more, roll to your right and the foot might touch the ground. So it's a really big inner thigh, hip, growing muscle stretch. Exhale, pull the right foot back in. Inhale, extend the left leg out as far as you can. Switch your grip if needed. Roll to the outer left hip, toes touch down. Exhale, pull it back in. Again, inhale, right leg stretches out. Really try to open up the back of the knee, press that heel out. It's a real big stretch. Exhale, pull it in. Left side. Exhale in. So you'll repeat single leg Supta Konasana, or those of us who would like to try it, you'll extend both legs out into your V. So you might need to switch your hand grip again. Your low back should be grounded, shoulders grounded. Wonderful way to get a big inner thigh growing muscle stretch. Take a breath in. Exhale. One more deep breath in. And this exhale, we're moving to happy baby pose. So you'll simply bend your knees, walk your hands to the inner arches now, and let the weight of your hands draw the knees down to the outer armpits. Do try to keep your low back grounded here. If you want to do a little rock side to side, that's fine. One more breath here. Now on the exhale, take a hold of your outer knees, hug your knees and your feet together. Give them a little squeeze, the head can float up. Drop your feet to the floor. Feet are close to the sit bones. You have a little bit of space between your feet and your knees. Those of you that have yoga blocks, you're welcome to place a yoga block between your inner thighs. Walk your shoulder blades under. Now squeeze the buttock and the back side. Press firmly down through the backs of the arms and the feet. To inhale and float the hips up into Setu Bandhasana. So you're squeezing and strengthening the back to open up the front of the hips. From here, try to walk your arm bones under even more, interweaving all 10 fingers. There should be no weight in the neck. The weight's moving into the meaty part of the shoulders. The chest might move towards the chin, but avoid tucking the chin towards the chest. And your knees must be pointing directly towards your toes instead of flaring open. We are strengthening that whole back side, so you'll feel those muscles working. But we're giving the front of our hips a nice big stretch. Take a big belly breath. One more inhale. And then the next exhale, we'll slide the arms and the shoulder blades out. Very gently melt the low back to the ground. Once the low back is rested, rock your knees gently side to side. And then one more time, draw those knees into the body. Keep the knees together, the feet parallel. Extend the arms out from the shoulders, palms down. Supine twist. As you exhale, lower your knees to the right. Slide props underneath the legs as needed. To deepen this twist, place your right hand on the top thigh, drawing the knees closer towards the ground. Sink the left shoulder down, the head can turn to the left. To take this twist one step further, to go a little bit deeper, you'll straighten the left leg out to the side, slide the right hand down, trying to take a hold of the lateral edge of the left foot. Left shoulder sinks, head sinks. Close the eyes, slow the breathing down as we come to the end of our practice. Relax the face, the throat, the shoulders. On our next inhale, we need to reverse out, same we went into it. So float the head to neutral. If you have a hold of the foot, let go. Bend the left knee. You may float one knee at a time back to center if that's easier for the low back. Drop the feet to the floor for a moment. Make sure your body's back into a nice neutral alignment. Hug those knees in. Squeeze them together, parallel the feet. Exhale, lower the knees to the left. Add your props as needed. Right shoulder sinks down, head may turn to the right. To deepen the twist, simply place left hand on top thigh. Or you might try to extend your right leg out to the side. Slide the left hand down to the lateral edge of the right foot. Continue to relax the shoulders into the ground. Close the eyes. Focus on the exhale. And just let gravity allow the body to bring everything out from our day. Breathing away any tension or stress we might be holding on to in our body. Let it go. Next inhale, float the head to neutral. Bend the right knee if it's straight. Float those knees back up to center. Realign the head with the spine. Next exhale, try to reach across those shin bones. Maybe taking hold of opposite elbows or wrists, floating the head up, nose to knees, and we'll give our body a nice big squeeze this evening. Filling ourselves up with appreciation and gratitude for everything that our body just gave us tonight. Breathe it in. And on this next exhale, we can let it go. Dropping the head and the feet to the floor. So we'll move into final relaxation. If you are comfortable where you are on the floor, you can stay here, adjusting the shoulder blades, rolling the arm bones open, palms up. If you take care of your low back, keep your knees bent up, just drop the weight of the knees together, turn the toes in slightly. If you want to continue with this hip work, bring the soles of the feet, connecting those feet together, let the knees fall open, Supta Baddha Konasana. Or extend the legs out, nice and long, wider than the hips, with the feet flopping open into Shavasana. If you've gathered up props, that nice big pillow underneath the weight of the legs can really help the legs relax. Adding some cushion behind the head. Taking some type of eye covering, whether if it's just a folded washcloth or a scarf, to create some darkness for the eyes. We want to put some effort going into this pose. So we should be concentrating on how we move our body into this posture. Trying to find symmetry here in the body, left to right, front to back. I'll give us all a moment to get comfortable and situated. I will guide us through a little bit of verbal relaxation this evening. Give us several moments of peace and quiet. And then use my singing bowl to bring us out of our relaxation to finish class together tonight. So allow the back of the skull to sink into the ground. Allow the eyeballs to sink down into the sockets. Poof the cheeks with air, wiggle out the mouth, swallow a couple times, relaxing the tongue, the lower jaw, and the throat. Shrug the shoulders down to the ground. Let those palms turn up to the ceiling and the fingertips to curl up naturally. So again, Muladhara chakra, this area of the body, is associated with the base of the spine, the legs, the bones of the body, and all the way down into the feet. So allow a quality of heaviness to come over the whole body. Feel the bones of the body drop into the ground, loosening all the joints. Let that low back and the base of the spine sink into the ground. Softening all the muscles around the hips and the hip sockets. Relaxing the tops and the backs of the thighs. Relax the space behind the knees. Relax the shins, the calves, the ankles. Relax the feet, all of the toes, the space between the toes. Soften all the creases and wrinkles on the soles of the feet. Relaxing the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. The seed mantra associated with this area of the body is the mantra LAM. The mantras I am grounded, I am safe, I am secure. So if the mind wanders away, either just gently bring it back to the peaceful, easy breath in and out through the nose, or mentally repeat the mantra over and over again. As we give ourselves just one more moment this evening to let go, to relax, and to feel grounded, safe, and secure. So before we move our body tonight, just start to notice the gentle breath of the body. And notice the whole body relaxed on the ground. Feeling and visualizing and seeing our whole body relaxed on the ground. And from there, we'll gently start to breathe some life back into our body, waking up the big toe, second toe, all the toes. Wake up the fingertips, gentle rock of the head side to side, roll the ankles and the wrists. Depending where we are in our legs and with our props, the next inhale reaches the arms all the way overhead into long body stretch, straightening the legs out down the middle of the yoga mat and flexing those feet one more time, spreading the toes as wide as possible, spreading the fingertips and trying to create as much space in our body as we can, side to side and front to back. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, float the arms down, walk the feet in. And then hug the knees into the body to rock side to side across the back. Right arm falls beside the head. We roll all the way over into Supta Balasana, pausing on our right side, resting the head on the arm and the left hand to the floor in front of the heart. And then keeping the eyes closed or soft, press down to the ground, stretch the top leg to the front of the mat to help the body come back up. We will revisit any comfortable seated pose, sitting up on our sit bones, lengthening up to the crown of the head, and take just a couple more deep breaths together this evening. So sitting up nice and tall and being mindful of our space around us, extend the arms up from beside the body. Turn the palms up. Inhale, breathing. Let's float those arms all the way back up towards the ceiling. And let's gather up everything that we need for the rest of our evening. Turn those palms back out, even bigger breath out. Float the fingertips all the way back down to the floor and let go of all that other junk we don't need this evening. And one more big breath together. Inhale, arms up. Palms touch, exhale, lowering the hands in front of the heart, humbly bowing the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and remembering to be grateful to anyone else that made it possible for us all to connect and practice our yoga together this evening. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. And I thank each and every one of you so much for your patience, for your practice, for taking time out of your evening to do something good for yourself and everyone around you, for hanging out with me. Good job. I could see some of you doing good with the balancing and all that. So if you do have any questions for me, feel free to ask. I will be back Sunday morning at 9:30 for our regularly scheduled class. And if you did or happen to be new to me tonight, it was lovely having you, and I hope you enjoyed it.